Joining us now is a combatant on the other side of that fight. David Brock is the founder of the liberal group Media Matters and also founder of American Bridge, a liberal PAC that has conducted a considerable amount of Oppo research on 2016 Republican presidential hopefuls. Mr. Brock's group has put out a whole dossier today on Peter Schweizer, the author of this Clinton book, and Mr. Schweizer's history of getting things wrong. David Brock, thanks for joining us this evening.
Thanks for having me on.
So it is not unusual for campaigns or for partisans who support or oppose specific campaigns to try to shop Oppo research to media organizations to try to get them cover it as news. Do you think there is something different about what Peter Schweizer has done with this Clinton book?
Well, I don't know if it's different, but I would say it's disappointing that the New York Times is chasing the same story as Fox News. I think what we have here that might be unique is a convergence of millions of dollars being spent by Republicans on opposition research and a press corps that's so competitive on the Clinton beat that they're looking for any anti-Clinton crumb. And what happens in the situation, which may be happening here, is that, you know, I have no problem with the Times vetting books. I've written books. That's not really unusual, but I think they didn't set the bar particularly high here because this author has a rap sheet, as you have already set up, as long as my arm. And we did a 7,000-word report for Media Matters today. We found 10 instances of really seriously botched journalism, retractions, corrections, media getting burned by picking up this material. And these weren't our words, but people saying sources that don't exist and facts that don't check out, and not meeting the standards of journalism 101. And so I think you have the journalistic story, and then you have the political story that you've covered, which is to say that this is much more of a coordinated political attack than it is a typical book tour.
In terms of the way this campaign is shaping up, it is very unusual to have a de facto nominee pre-primary on the Democratic side. And that may change, but right now it looks like, I mean, with a 50-point lead in the polls over anybody else, she is the de facto nominee. And this weekend in New Hampshire, there were, I kid you not, 21 Republican candidates in appearance at one of the Republican forums. There are so many of them. How is that going to drive the part of this process that is paying for opposition research? I mean, back in your conservative days, you were one of the hired hands on the anti-Clinton Oppo research side. How do you think that's going to be? How do you think that's going to work this year with this dynamic?
Well, sure. Yeah, I mean, it's right that I was once involved in what was correctly called the vast right-wing conspiracy, but the Atlantic magazine recently updated say a right-wing conglomerate. And I think that's what we have right now. Now, the Republican strategy here is very clear to me, which is they do this all the time. They take the good works of someone, and in this case, it's the good works of the Clinton Foundation, and they try to turn it into a liability. So what we're seeing here is swift boats docking early. This is a political campaign. It's very sophisticated. They've briefed Marco Rubio. They've briefed Rand Paul. But I would say, you know, if those folks think that a winning political strategy is attacking a foundation that's done things like so much to stop the AIDS epidemic in Africa, let's have at it.
David Brock, founder of Media Matters, thanks very much for your time tonight, Dave. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
All right, much more ahead. We'll be right back.